Hello, and welcome back to Clownfish TV. It is me, Geeky Sparkles, and I am joined with...
Neon?
Neon, yay!
Did I get that right?
We tricked you!
Yeah, we tricked you. We did it backwards.
We did it backwards. Okay, so, welcome back to Clownfish TV.
She gets to be the man today. She gets
I am.
Be the man, yeah.
Got my balls on, we're good.
Right.
So, we're going to talk today about DeSantis' response to Disney's lawsuit.
Okay, see, I'm not really following this whole Disney DeSantis thing as closely as you are because you run piratesandprincesses.net.
Yep.
So that's kind of your job. I have completely checked out from Disney. Like I check in on it every once in a while, but I have run out of give a poop.
Give a poop.
Yes.
But before we get into any further.
Before we get into any further, please subscribe for more pop culture, news, views, and rants, guys. We talk an awful lot about Disney. Disney makes it so easy to keep talking about them. And you'll get a woohoo if you subscribe.
Woohoo!
Yeah, there you go. All right.
So, yesterday I did a video by myself because you weren't here. And minutes after the new Central Florida Tourism Oversight District Board voted to nullify the Reedy Creek, which is actually Disney's own covenants, restrictive covenants. They apparently hired they used their own lawyer to draft, put the other lawyer's name on it. A lot of really questionable things where they made a deal with themselves, basically. They voted to nullify the agreement because anybody would. It was a ridiculous agreement that basically let Disney do whatever the hell they want. They had the permission for Disney for everything. And if they decided that they wanted a new road or infrastructure, that the board would be required to do it immediately because Disney said so.
Yeah, peasants,
Yes.
go fix our roads, please.
Yes, and you have to pay for it too.
Yes.
But that's okay. We'll make you a deal. We'll sell it to you at no more than the going rate at the time. So, of course, they nullified this. And within minutes of nullification, Disney filed this lawsuit. Now, I want to take a moment to point something out. If you remember, I think it was with a Time magazine where Bob Iger was talking about he'd be more than willing to sit down with DeSantis.
More than willing to fly out to Florida and sit down and have a face-to-face chat. Yes.
Yeah, that they could work it out. He's saying that, right? When
Yes.
he's in the Time magazine article, which, again, I remind you, Salesforce works with Disney, has a 5-year agreement with Disney, owns Time magazine. He did this. He was already ready with a lawsuit after they got their asses busted. Then they hurried up and scrambled and put out a big PR thing to people like us for damage control. Then they knew they were going to nullify this. This meeting was coming. Disney not only Iger didn't have time to meet with DeSantis to stop it or to try to work something out, but he did have time to go find an LA attorney and have them flown into Tallahassee to be ready 5 minutes after that they voted to veto their stupid, agreement.
Yeah,
and he was filing a claim in court. Now, he could have spent that time and effort trying to work something out. Didn't. Instead, he just hired a lawyer from LA and had him sent to Tallahassee.
Yeah, and look, that lawsuit, that wasn't drafted in like an hour. That was, pretty in depth. So they've been planning this for a while. Mm-hmm. So the optics. I mean, if you're actually paying attention to what's going on, are not good for all this talk of like poor Disney. It's like Iger has had multiple opportunities to sit down with DeSantis and discuss it man to man and maybe try to work out something equitable or amiable, and that is not the case.
No, for all his talk that's what he wants, he completely acts in opposition to that.
Yeah.
And of course they're blaming everything on DeSantis, saying that it's because it's political. It's political. Well, yeah, okay, I do agree with you. That is political.
Yeah.
Because this is all because DeSantis did take away their special district over the parental rights education, don't say gay bill, because Disney was Chapek at the time, backpedaled to shut up people in the company and then threatened to pay different special interest groups to go and make sure laws don't get changed. These laws don't get pushed through in other states, and they were going to fight Florida, and they made it political.
Yes.
And then Iger comes back and then triples down on political dealings by going and doing backdoor deals like they did with their Reedy Creek special restrictive covenants.
Yeah, so I don't know, guys. I mean, this does not look like either party is willing to budge at all.
Oh, yes, and Disney, before this all happened, too, they were going out and getting lobbyists.
Yes.
They were, and the exact quote, I have it in my article I wrote here. I went and found it from the source, and from where they were hearing it from. They said that they were going to go get lobbyists to set up their efforts to influence the Republican-controlled state legislature and to target land use-related bills that could hurt the company, among other measures. So, DeSantis made it political. Disney's been
Yeah.
Well, I think DeSantis did take away Reedy Creek over politics. It should have been taken away years ago. And quite frankly, I'm sure Disney spent a shit ton of money making sure politicians were paid not to dissolve it before.
Oh, yeah, because, I mean, honestly, Reedy Creek should have been null and void when it was very clear that Epcot was not going to be a city, but it was going to be a theme park.
Yes.
That should nullify the agreement.
Because they got the agreement based on the fact that they have the rights of a city because they were going to be a city.
Yes.
They're not a fucking city.
That was Walt's original plan. Go watch the Florida Project videos where he's in front of the board talking about how Epcot's going to be a city. Ride the People Mover. You can see the original prototype.
For the city.
For the city of Epcot. Yeah.
This should have been dissolved years ago when it was clear it wasn't going to be a city. So they had the city of Bay Lake and the city of Lake Buena Vista instead. We're still cities. We could keep our special, our special district. And do I think DeSantis took it away over politics? Yes, I totally do. But I also think it should have been removed a long time ago. And I think Disney should have, as a company, and they're beholden to the government and the laws, like everybody else, should have been like, okay, well, this sucks, but we'll work with you. And I'm sure if they had just worked with them, they would have got what they wanted anyway. But instead, because they could have been like, oh, Chapek did it, and Chapek's not here now. And I'm sure they would have worked with them. Yeah. But instead, no, they had to pull this weird shit. They pulled.
Yeah, that was the out. They could have just blamed, that's why I think Chapek was there. They could have just blamed Chapek and been like, yeah, you know what? Let's start over, guys. He really effed up on this, and let's really make it clear what our position is in the company. Because they're at odds, and we talked about this before we started recording the video. Like, for all Disney's talk of like, oh, we're doing this because, we believe in LGBTQ plus rights. It's like,
I was just going to bring this up. Yeah.
Meanwhile, they fired Victoria Alonso, and her allegation was she got into a fight. That's her version of it, is she got into a fight with Disney management over them not allowing LGBTQ plus scenes in foreign releases.
Well, she supposedly spoke out against Chapek at a GLAAD event or something. And then she said that because she was gay Latina, they fired her. Yeah. Disney, who we know takes scenes out of films to release them overseas, representation scenes,
They have basically add-ons on their movies. It's like, okay, this is a domestic release. What's going to get us social justice clout? Oh, okay, we'll have 30 seconds in this movie where a character talks about having a crush on somebody of the same sex, but then that part is easily removable for
China.
Yeah.
And again, I want to point out too, we talked before about the special committee they were the bipartisan committee that was talking to Hollywood about their Chinese relations. And then the big target they were talking to is Bob Iger. They talked to other people too in Silicon Valley and Hollywood, but they talked to Bob Iger. And the guy that was there said who he asked answered the same way. Whenever he asked somebody, and I'm sure he asked Iger because China and the issues with Mulan filming near the re-education centers.
Re-education facilities.
Right.
It's like school.
They asked people, and yes, it's shul. They asked people they were talking to, and I guarantee you Iger was one of them, given the circumstances. If you saw things happening, like it was happening near the Mulan filming, and you saw these camps or genocide or anything that happening, would you say something? And the guy said they all told him no. They would not say a word because they didn't want to mess up their relations with China, because even if it was that one movie, the whole studio would be punished, and they didn't want to do that. And I damn well guarantee you, Iger was the first person he fucking asked that question to. Oh, yeah, and he said, no, I would say nothing because it would damage our relations with China. This is the same people you're white knighting for and saying about, because of politics and LGBTQism. You're a convenient device for them when they want good public relation or good PR or something like that. That's what you are. And that's sad, and it shouldn't be that way, but that's the truth.
Yeah, and we're gonna do a video later today talking about Hasbro too. It's the same thing where they put on this show of like, look how progressive we are, look how much we care about our community. That is a marketing tactic. They want you to believe that they actually care about you because they want your money. At the end of the day, that's all you are, is a wallet.
Right. And I gotta tell you, I am so disappointed in Disney. Like, I'm just disappointed, like so bad, because, I get it at first, they were mad, they were fighting this, because it was politically motivated when it got taken away. But I completely, it should have been taken away before this. Yeah. Which they paid a lot of money to make sure it wasn't. I get why it was removed. I get why they shouldn't have special privileges. I understand it. But then when I hear the stuff they've done to try to circumvent that and the underhanded, lengths they've gone to, I'm like, whoa. You know, and then to instead of working it out, which it could have been worked out, they just keep doing these other things, these other like, you know, underhanded stuff. And I'm just like, you could have worked this out 10 times over by now. And I'm sure you could have worked out a way that everybody would have been okay and happy. But you couldn't just sit there. You're talking on both sides of your face. We have to make a big show to show that we are for LGBTQ people while simultaneously silencing LGBTQ scenes overseas and letting stuff happen in China and not saying jack shit.
This is all about Disney just keeping control.
This is what, they're using LGBTQ people as a shield. Yeah. This is them keeping control. So here,
they're a corporation. They're gonna corporate.
Disney Food Blog. They're trying to keep it short and sweet, stay out of it, I think, as much as possible. But they said within the complaint that Disney has had, they have alleged more than half a century, Disney has made an immeasurable impact in Florida, with its economy establishing Central Florida as a top global tourist destination. Meaning, it was swampland till Disney came, which is not untrue. Yeah. That's true. Disney is one of Central Florida's largest taxpayers. Also true, but being one of the largest taxpayers doesn't mean you get special treatment. And Disney is also one of the largest employers in the state. Again, there are other large employers in the state who do not get special treatment.
Yeah.
Looking at you, Universal.
Yeah, right. So yeah, I mean, it's just like that, and that basically that goes along with Iger's attitude that they are Florida. Basically, Disney believes they're Florida. That this California-based company believes they have the state of Florida in their back pocket.
Right. They said if you are against us, you're anti-business, anti-Florida.
Anti-Florida. Yep.
So then they have that they said the machinery of the state, and that DeSantis used the machinery of the state in a coordinated campaign that damaged Disney's ability to do business in Florida. How does this damage Disney's ability to do business in Florida? You no longer have the special district. You don't get to dictate your own rules. You're on the same. You have to follow the same guidelines, same permits, the same everything else as every other theme park. How does this diminish your ability to do business in Florida?
It diminishes their ability to have a competitive advantage over their competitors in Florida. That's basically what it does. It levels the playing field, and Disney doesn't want the playing field level. They want everything tipped in their favor. Now, that being said, I said it before, like I personally in this situation have very mixed feelings because what I am afraid of is it is going to set a precedent for the government to just be like, you know, hey, we're going to just interfere with your business. But
they're not, but yeah, I agree with you there, except for the fact that basically they're not making them behold to anything other than everybody else is being held to.
Right.
Like,
so I guess
that's what gets me.
I think in this case, it's not like they're being punished per se, rather they're having their special perks taken away.
Right, they're just being put on equal footing with everybody else.
Right, it's not like they're being shackled so they can't compete with Universal and SeaWorld and all that. It's just that the playing field is going to be level because their attitude, the government's attitude, is basically like, you guys have had a free pass for decades. You've actually...
Now you abused your power.
You abused your power, and you've abused what that power was given to you for, because you were supposed to build a city and you built a bunch of theme parks.
Well, and then Disney's they're screaming about politics and political. Disney's the one who made it political in the first place. Disney, Bob Chapek started it. Iger has tripled down on it. They're the ones making it a political issue. When it actually is just, I mean, he shouldn't have taken, he took it away for political reasons. 100%.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But it should have been taken away before this.
Yeah, and this has been a long time coming. I know that, there were Democrats actually pushing for years for Reedy Creek to be dissolved because they said it really is unfair. They're not paying their fair share of taxes. They're able to circumvent, safety rules, or able to, things that Democrats usually are for.
We've looked at the whole thing with the first responders and how that they've been going through and how they've been trying to do their job.
Unions are having a problem.
Yes, unions have trouble with Disney.
Right.
And there's a lot of issues.
So historically, this is what's so weird about it. Normally, it's the Democrats that have had an issue with Reedy Creek, but because it's DeSantis being the one to pull the trigger, and they don't like DeSantis, now
they're afraid he's going for president.
Right. So, but the thing is he can't back down either, because if he does, they're going to be like, you couldn't handle Mickey Mouse. How are you going to be able to handle Russia?
I mean, that's the thing. It's like, I think he's made some missteps too, because I think, I know it was clear he was joking. If you see his whole quote in context with prison, but he's going out there and making comments like that, which is not helping his case. It's actually swaying public opinion the other way. At this point, I think everybody's getting sick of both of them, both sides. But yeah, I said before, like, if it was any other company, if it was a Republican corporation and a Democratic government, if it was the My Pillow guy or some other company they they hated that week for some Republican, because they're Republican for some reason, because don't you know everything is about blue or red. There's no in between. Yeah. They would be 100% like, go government. You show them. Corporations should have to obey the laws like everybody else. And that's what I'm saying. It's like if you look at this without political bias on either side, basically you have a company who had privileges they shouldn't have had in a district they shouldn't have had because it's now way past what it was meant for. It didn't happen. Yep. And their competitors don't have the same perks. No. And you could argue they're harming their business by not having the same perks. So you have to treat everybody equally. And that's what happened. And they're mad. They're pissed because they have to be treated equally. And they're Disney. We pay more taxes. We're special. We are Florida. You would be nothing if we hadn't built on your pissy swampland. Pretty much. I mean, that's their attitude. Like, is there a kernel of truth to it? Well, yeah, but still, like, this isn't a good time for this. They need to, especially the position Disney is in right now, where they are laying people off. They are scrambling to keep their shit together. The theme parks are not doing as well. Their movies are failing the box office. Yeah, it's like right now is a very bad time to try to die on this hill because your theme parks are your consistent source of revenue, and you've got some stiff competition coming up from Universal, and you guys really don't have anything in the pipeline, and now you're gonna pick this battle. Here. Speaking of Universal, their first quarter report came out today, and they're saying for their theme parks, destination experiences segment, they have what is this? EBITDA of $658 million for the first 3-month period ending in March 31st, the quarter, on revenue of $1.949 billion for a quarter. Those numbers were an increase of 46% and 25% respectively over the same period. The business overall is rocking, Comcast President Mike Kavanaugh said. I would be remiss by not calling out the first of the quarter that the international side had. Universal Japan had all-time highs for attendance, per caps revenue, and EBITDA for the first quarter since opening in 2021. Likewise, China, we generated significant profitability in a tougher season at the highest ever quarterly attendance, despite it being wintertime, and 2 other Disney parks in China. Instead, the domestic side of things continue to perform really well. In Hollywood, we had Super Nintendo World open, driving really strong attendance and per caps. They're way ahead of last year in pre-pandemic levels on the back of excellent guest feedback. In Orlando, really solid results in the quarter. We had unprecedented visitation last year. Oh my God. Universal was searched more than Disney parks, allegedly. And I think 3 of Universal's parks outperformed 3 of Disney's, probably not Magic Kingdom, but the other 3 parks. They said they're way ahead of the pre-COVID 2019 numbers. Okay, so I can tell you, I mean, we've been visiting the parks for a very long time. I took the kids, the last time I was in Universal, I took the kids to Halloween Horror Nights. Universal was the busiest I've ever seen it. Like I've never seen it that packed. And we were actually and this was Columbus Day weekend. Yeah, you also picked a holiday weekend. Yeah, probably wasn't smart. But even then, I've been there other times, and it should have been. I mean, it was insane. Like I don't even think I've ever seen Disney that busy. And we went to Halloween Horror Nights, and it was like wall to wall people. We had a really good time, and but it was very, very busy. And Universal definitely is picking up attendance. I think Harry Potter helped, Halloween Horror Nights is helping, and Nintendo is going to destroy. Honestly, what I think it is a big part of it too. Backlash from Disney, because people are so sick of Disney, and they're sick of the Disney price gouging. Disney keeps jacking up prices. I mentioned it yesterday. Their tickets keep going up and up and up. They keep talking about how, we're going to stop that. We're going to walk that back because that was a Chapek thing. But Genie Plus hit all-time highs. That was an Iger thing. And then I told you the new, their Halloween, Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, tickets went up $10. A lot of tickets went up $10. Now, I'm sure the Halloween Horror Nights prices are going to go up too. And Universal has raised their ticket prices as well. But people are just really fucking sick of Disney. And they just keep squeezing. Yeah, and I think they have to. I think my personal opinion on all of this is I think Disney is in worse financial shape than they're letting on. Because remember, guys, when the pandemic happened, they took out a bunch of loans, and nobody talks about that. No, they never mention it anymore. They took out a bunch of loans. And prior to that, they overspent on Fox. Yes, so they overspent on Fox. They took out a bunch of loans. They paid a bunch of dividends. And then they,
had a bunch of high profile misfires at the box office. They took the money out thinking, well, we'll be fine with the Eternals. We'll be fine with Ant-Man. We'll be fine with all these movies. And so many of their movies have struck out. Their animated movies especially have struck out, cost them hundreds of millions of dollars. Meanwhile, the clock is ticking on that debt. It has to be paid. I don't know if Disney, I'm going to be completely honest. I mean, for all this smoke and mirrors of like, look how good we're doing, guys, whatever, because Disney Plus still hasn't paid for itself yet.
Not till next year, maybe.
I don't know if they have the money to legitimately compete with Universal at this point. Universal's bankrolled by Comcast, and everybody uses Comcast for something, whether it's internet or TV or whatever. And their business is not dependent on just theme parks and just movies and whatever. They're a lot more diversified. They've got that,
Well, their base is in PA, isn't it, Philadelphia?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, yay, go PA!
Yeah. So, I'm just saying, like, I think that, and as far as the politics goes, NBC News is obviously biased in one direction. They've got, the Tonight Show, Jimmy Fallon, he's obviously biased in one direction. And Saturday Night Live, I think they're a little more even keel than they used to be. But the thing is, they keep it out of the theme park talk. Like they actually treated their team members better during the pandemic than Disney did. But they're not out there making big shows about.
They also gave their team members, they call their cast members team members. They also gave their team members raises and a bunch of perks. When Disney was fighting their unions, and then Disney turned around and fixed it, and they're going to give them $1 more to offset it. But they basically stole all the perks that, the same ideas that Universal had and put them at Disney. But they didn't have to go to like the lengths that the unions had to for Disney. And
another thing too, I just thought about with Universal, they're not overtly anti-conservative, anti-Christian. They still have the Christian Music Festival in Universal, despite being
Rock the Universe.
Yeah. Rock the Universe. Disney used to do that. They don't do it anymore.
They'll still have their Pride events, but they won't have their Christian events.
They won't do the Christian Pride. Because here's the thing. Not every event is for every person, And I think that if you're going to be fair, if you're going to have, events of a belief persuasion or a political persuasion or whatever, you have to kind of be even keel across the board. And again, you don't have to agree with those events. You don't have to attend those events. But Disney suddenly pull the plug on their Christian music stuff. I was actually surprised they're still doing the candlelight processional. I think it's because it's so popular, because it is overtly religious, right? But Universal still does it. So
again, well, I'm sure they saw a need and then they thought cha-ching. Yeah.
Well, no, it's the same reason that Universal is building value resorts
that are actual values.
That are actual values, and they're good, clean, they're good, nice resorts. Whereas Disney gave up on middle class families. Basically, Disney gave up on middle class families.
No, they keep building DVCs and they keep building, redoing their deluxe. They've added the Riviera, the one that the beds were falling off the walls when they opened, but they're charging several $100s a night for. Yeah. So anyway, back to the point of this whole video, which we really went off the rails here. I'm going to give you what the statements were from DeSantis in response, because I talked about this yesterday, but you weren't there for the whole announcement of the lawsuit. So apparently there's two different quotes. One is from the governor's office spokesperson, Tara Fensky, saying, here's what the governor's office official statement is. We are unaware of any legal right that a company has to operate its own government or maintain special privileges not held by other businesses in the state. This lawsuit is yet another unfortunate example of their hope to undermine the will of Florida voters and operate outside the bounds of law. Meanwhile, DeSantis, who is in Jerusalem right now covering some stuff, made this statement. They're upset because they're actually having to live by the same rules as everybody else. They don't want to have to pay the same taxes as everybody else, and they want to be able to control things without proper oversight, whereas every other Floridian has to have this type of oversight. All Florida businesses. So it's a little bit much to be complaining about that. I don't think the suit has merit. I think it's political. I think they filed in Tallahassee for a reason, because they're trying to generate some district court decision, but we're very confident on the law.
Yeah. So, I mean, it depends on whatever side you're on is what, people are like, well, this internet lawyer said Disney's going to win. This internet lawyer said DeSantis is going to win. And it's like, you get people in the comments like, guy, I don't know. I'm going to be completely honest. I don't know who's going to win.
I just think it's concerning that a company, the way the comments Iger's making, the company just thinks that they are so much above everybody else.
I foresee very bad things in Disney's future. I mean, it is going to be death by a thousand cuts. Disney got too big, too quick. Putting Bob Iger back in was probably a huge mistake. I understand they needed somebody to come in.
Chapek was too honest, and it was scaring the shareholders.
Yeah, right.
Dropping the stock.
Right. But the problem is Bob Iger. Bob Iger created the problems that Disney is dealing with right now. They grew too fast. Mm-hmm. They started absorbing existing IP.
That they mishandled.
That they mishandled because they fundamentally did not understand how it worked or what made it special. It just became an acquisition. And now they're trying to spin too many plates. They've let their own in-house ideas go to the wayside. They've gotten rid of people like John Lasseter that actually were the idea guys that were keeping them going with the animation, and that's failing now too. So
they have a new movie coming out, Thanksgiving Wish, and there's a trailer for it today. It actually looks more like more of an Encanto and less of a Strange World situation. Okay. So I mean that might be a good thing.
But it could also backfire in the fact that people are so used to those movies being dropped on Disney Plus now because they were so hot to get people on Disney Plus. They've been dropping all their animation.
A lot of their cuts are because of Disney Plus.
Yeah.
They're laying off 7,000 people.
Disney Plus still isn't profitable.
It wasn't going to be, though, until at least 2024. They've always said that. I'm not being fair.
The Hulu situation, what if NBC, in a colossal dick move, forces them to buy the rest of Hulu and then pulls all their NBC content off of it, leaving them with just Disney content and Fox content at this point? Mm-hmm. I mean, there are so many things. The MCU's in decline. Star Wars is in decline. I mean, they basically... The pandemic is almost symbolic of the decline of Disney because they were riding high until the pandemic. And then when that happened, that's
because all the bad decisions they made up to the pandemic put them in a financially strapped situation.
Yeah.
Plus, they couldn't open their theme parks, and their theme parks was what they were banking on. And they couldn't open the theme parks in California for more than a year after Florida reopened, or about a year after Florida reopened.
DeSantis let them open.
Yes, DeSantis pushed to let them open, and Disney could open sooner. They just held off a little bit longer because they didn't want to get sued, basically. But they could have opened sooner, and the only place that worked with them was Florida. And their response is when they're about legislation they don't like, because some people in the company didn't like it. And most of the people that were complaining were not even from Florida; they were California. Yeah. They overstepped more than they should have. And they could have said, "Hey, we don't agree with this. We think that this shouldn't be a thing." And that would have been they could have said that. That's freedom of speech. But then when they go to, but we're gonna put our money into special interest groups, and we're gonna do all this to stop it and change the laws. Then it's like, then you made it political, and then you overstepped. And then DeSantis reacted to your overstepping by, I think, taking away the Reedy Creek thing, which I totally agree with, needed to be taken away because it was ridiculous they had it. But it was a political retaliation. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
I mean, it is what it is. However, it doesn't make it wrong. It should have been removed. And Disney is just now going off the rails.
Yeah, like I said, if it had been different time, different governor, and the same thing had been proposed, all the people that are standing for, or all the Democrats that are against it now would be like, yeah, this corporation shouldn't have this much power. They shouldn't. They should be equal like everybody else. And why is Disney special? And again, it's just, this becomes, the whole thing is politicized by that binary red and blue thinking.
Well, yeah. And to be fair, it's because of the don't say gay bill. And
you're not allowed to say that. You have to say the don't say gay bill.
Well, whatever.
Yes,
but the parental rights education bill, that again, Disney, you're all like, oh, Disney stood up for no. They didn't, because whenever push comes to shove and they actually can show what they believe, they cut it for foreign audiences. They literally say one thing and do another. And if it was Universal or somebody or SeaWorld, I'd be saying the same thing. They shouldn't have had a special district either. I'd be saying the exact same thing.
I'm trying to remember. Again, this is Universal that owns NBC, right? And
and they definitely have a political bias.
Right. Did they make a big deal about the don't say gay bill?
Universal? No, I don't think most of their bells said anything about it. They just stayed low, which is what Disney should have done, which is what I guess DeSantis told Chapek to not say anything. Stay out of it.
And look, Universal makes movies. NBC has TV shows.
I can tell you for a fact, Universal is very diverse and deliberately hires all kinds of people, and they go out of their way to make everybody feel welcome, and they are definitely a group that does do what they can for their marginalized employees. I can tell you for a fact that is true.
Yeah. So, I mean, and again, we saw when the chips were down, and I'm not trying to be like, well, we're all pro Universal now because, screw Disney. But when the chips were down, the facts speak for themselves. Universal did everything they could for their team members. Universal on their own raised the wages. You know, they didn't have to be coerced or anything like that. And they keep it pretty neutral. Like, even though NBC's obviously biased, like I said, they've still got the Christian concerts and stuff like that. So they're not telling conservatives to get the hell out of their park.
Right. Disney,
like that,
Disney did the opposite.
Yeah.
And it bit him in the ass.
Yeah.
So anyway, this has gone very, very long. But hey, our watch time's up, so there's that.
Maybe if we didn't lose people already.
I know. I mean, like yesterday it was just me screaming. This time I wanted to give Neon a chance. But this is what's going on.
I don't scream as much.
Well,
as
I'll get your chance to talk, even though I still probably didn't. Sorry.
Nah, it's okay.
Anyway, so this is what's going on. Here's Governor DeSantis' comments. I wanted to make sure I gave you what he said. In response to Disney's lawsuit, I want to talk about Universal's numbers coming back and they're kicking Disney's ass. And, you know, shocker, shocker. Yeah. And is there anything else you want to talk about?
Not really. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. I really do think we are watching end stage Disney. I think we're like, look.
I don't think they're going to go out of business. No, they might sell off to Apple.
Yeah, I don't. Because the thing is, I mean, the more I think about it in the position they're in right now, the more the Apple deal makes sense, because the reason that Universal is in the position they're in is because of Comcast, the tech company, and Apple's one of those companies that, like, it's not going anywhere anytime soon.
I know, and it's funny because if you look at the history of Bob Iger's up Apple's ass so far. He is more about Apple than he is about Disney. I'm sorry, but he is.
Yeah, and a lot of people have speculated that his job was to come in and basically prep this company to sell it off to Apple.
That's all rumor, though.
It's all rumor, but I don't know, guys. I'm like giving this because it does not look like they're going to be able to course correct anytime soon. Plus the fact, I mean, all these people, YouTube pundits were all like, they're getting rid of the woke. They're purging the woke. I'm like, no, they're not.
Yeah, they kept saying it. I'm like, where do you see this?
Well, you know what company is quote unquote woke? It's got lots of money. It's Apple.
That's true.
Like, Apple's pretty progressive, so Disney can't just like.
I just hate using the word woke.
I'm just saying.
I just hate that word. I think everybody's overusing it for clickbait, and I hate it.
I agree.
Hurry, slap woke on it, and then we'll get lots of views. We don't do that.
No, it's to me woke is like a whole separate.
You only do it when you're quoting somebody.
It's the same with like SJW. To me, it's like it's a separate. It's basically when your ideology reaches parody levels, like when you're just like we used to call them Jesus Krispies or whatever, just like when you're just like or fundies or something like that, like when you get to a point, and like this is coming from a guy who
these are new to me.
I went to seminary, right? So that's a whole nother story, but when you get,
I didn't
when you get to a level where your belief system is just, and you're so pushy and so laughable, and you become a parody of your ideology, that's when the term. But just because somebody's progressive, or just because somebody's conservative, or somebody's a Christian, or whatever, or just because somebody's LGBT, that doesn't make them woke or a fundy or a Oh yeah,
there's a lot of people. I know a lot of people who identify in certain ways who don't agree with a lot of this extremism stuff.
So it's it's a final. Basically, we stop seeing people as being people. We stop seeing people as being
that's everything.
Human beings.
At this point, everything's just blue or red, and we're not actually looking at the actual facts of the situation.
Good guy, bad guy.
Right.
Who the good guy and the bad guy is.
I vote for. Yeah. What? Yep. And it's not even, there's no gray area anymore. There's no purple area, I guess, in this case. It's just, blue or red, and that's it. And then the majority of people, I think, are in the middle where they're looking at the purple area and they're like, but wait, this is.
But they nope out. So what happens when, they get overly political and you have a company like Disney? I think we're seeing it. We're seeing people nope out. It doesn't mean that they're like, the Nazis and the MAGAs it just means that like normal people might look at this and be like, what's up with their movies? Why does Star Wars suck? Why is Marvel just not fun anymore? Who are these new people?
And now they're trying to say that they are the government. That's a little weird.
It's like, But I mean, we'll see. I mean, at the end of the day, it's going to be Mario is going to bring a lot more people. Well, it's kind of like with the Harry Potter situation. There's all this drama around Harry Potter, and it really didn't translate into any kind of boycott. It was actually the opposite. But I think they're just going to look at it and be like, yeah, Disney's just not bringing it anymore. We're going to go elsewhere.
Well, they've been.
They've been.
Prior to this whole, Reedy Creek situation and the parental rights and education bill and all that. Prior to that, they already were leaving Disney, which is why they've been going down each quarter and why Universal is going up at other theme parks. A lot of people are going to local theme parks and they're like going to their Hershey Parks and their Kennywoods and their Knoebels. Like I'm using PA ones.
Yeah.
Different parks in those areas and they're going to those instead because they're like, it's so expensive to go to Disney. Not that Hershey's much better anymore.
Oh, Hershey's ridiculously expensive.
It's so expensive to go to Disney that we'll just stay local. We'll have fun. Is it the same level as Disney? In my personal opinion, no. But, and this makes me sad because I love Disney parks and I love the cast members at the parks. And I need to go back to the parks for my job. My kids want to go back to the parks, but I'm also so mad at them. But then I'm like, but I don't interact. The people I interact with are the cast members on the front lines, and they're not like this.
There are people. I mean, that's the thing I've been trying to tell people because everybody's like, oh, Hollywood and the whole da da da. It's like there are good people working at every level of the entertainment industry. It's just a lot of them
that aren't extreme either way.
They're not extreme. It's unfortunately the loudest voices get heard. Unfortunately, we're in a situation now where, and we know what the climate's like. If you say anything, you can get canceled, fired. A lot of people just keep their heads down.
And then people get fired for legit reasons. It's because I'm gay, isn't it?
It's like, no,
because I'm a woman.
It's because you're incompetent and
because I'm not white.
You cost us hundreds of millions of dollars. I'm waiting for them to be like, hey, we're not going to work with the people that made Strange World anymore. I'll be like, it's because the audiences hated the gay people it's like, no, it's because the movie wasn't advertised and it didn't look that good.
And,
I mean, that's the truth.
I was just thinking, it's amazing to me how the only incompetent people in the United States are straight white guys. I mean, everybody else is just, they're just a victim. I just don't understand
How did we make it this long?
I don't know. Anyway, we need to wrap this up because people are like, holy shit, this video is long.
Oh my God, what is it, like 45 minutes now?
I don't know.
Sorry. This is like a fraction of the time though.
This is like a podcast at this point.
Yeah, I mean, this is other people on YouTube. They're like, oh.
We don't live stream that much. We need to.
That's hour one.
So there you go.
That's hour one of our 19-hour podcast.
Right. So there you go. All right, we're going to wrap it up finally.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Please like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you later.
Help support the channel. Go to thereef.support and get early access to podcasts, videos, and other content. That's thereef.support.